For today's Wonderful Human Wednesday, we have Cary Hite, and we are going to get to know him better. Cary, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So, first question,
hmm
passions, hobbies, fun time outside of your work.
I enjoy recreational sports when I can get out and play. Walking's
Mhm.
beautiful, especially if it's by
Mhm.
a body of water. Trivia, quite a fan of trivia. Invite me to your
Yes.
local bar. I'm good
Okay.
for a couple of categories. Also, food and travel. You can get me to go places if good food is involved.
You have such an incredible career. You've done so many really cool projects. So I was wondering if you could choose one that kind of sticks out to you and tell me a little bit of what it was like to be behind the scenes on the set for that project.
A play called The Champion. It was written by Amy Evans, and it's a Nina Simone story. The story is based around Nina Simone and her band are at the last leg of their tour, and they happen to be in North Carolina. So we're saying that this is the late 50s, early 60s. Due to weather conditions, snow, the plane is canceled, so they get a last second train ticket to go back to New York. They have time to spare and they find a diner to go get a drink. And they're closing, but once the server realizes who it is, she lets us in, and then the story unfolds from there. And then we find out that my character, Charles White, who was her bassist, is leaving the band to go play with Dizzy Gillespie. And her longtime guitarist, Al Shackman, is also thinking about leaving. And Nina Simone was all about loyalty and no one breaking up the band per se. And this is all around the backdrop of we're in racist North Carolina in the
Mhm.
early 60s, and then two police officers come in and it gets really tense and physical, and we have to process that trauma. I tell her I'm leaving. It's like things are falling apart, but we find a way to piece it back together because that's what we've always had to do. Even in the face of trauma, you still have to find the light. Yeah, that play really stuck with me because also Al Shackman and Charles White helped develop the play with Amy Evans. So it was very authentic. I think that really stood out is after the first show, Al Shackman came up to me and he said, "Congratulations, Charles." And then I knew what he was saying. You know what I mean? And then we got such a special treat because he played after one of our shows, he played with our Nina Simone, Joy Jones. So it was just a live concert with this legend.
I'm going to ignore the next question because well, maybe there's something else, something you're proud of accomplishing in your career. I'm like, what you just shared with us, but if there's something else, please share.
Being a New York native and having to ride the buses and trains for several years, I did this campaign which was focused on not discriminating against certain people for ethnic appearance, for your name. So my face was plastered on many a poster board in several train stations and bus stops. And so I would have friends say they would take pictures with my poster board and say, "Hey, I'm in Brooklyn right now," or wherever they would be. So that was fun. And the first time I saw it, I was reading on the train, and then I just happened to look up, and then I see myself staring back at myself, and I laugh, and then I would swim back to reading again. So
What are you consuming media wise? Have you watched or listened to anything recently that you want to tell us about?
I've been watching Wonder Man on Disney Plus, part of the Marvel universe. Goes well beyond like the superhero trope and all that, because at the core of this story is this passionate, struggling actor who's really trying to make it and make his mom and his brother proud. And it's performed beautifully by the entire ensemble.
Cary,
hmm
piece of advice that you've been given that is still with you today is like your go-to.
Always ask. If you don't ask,
Oh,
shame on you. I had just gotten my dream job, which at the time was on a soap opera, One Life to Live, when it was still alive and well. When I went to sit in my dressing room, someone else comes into the room and he's dressed as Santa. He was there to play Santa that day, and we're sitting down having a chat. And he said that the producers of One Life to Live had contacted him because he had a website promoting himself as Santa. So from the end of October through to January, he would go to different companies being Santa. And so he said they asked for his rate. And so he gave them all the rates. He said, there's no way they're going to cover all this. He gave them rate. He gave them per diem. He gave them all the stuff. He's like, they'll never call me back. While we were in the dressing room, they came in and presented him with his check right there. He opened it up and he said, oh, wow. He said, not only did they give me everything I asked for, they gave me even more. And then that's when he turned and looked at me and he said, always ask. You don't ask, shame on you. I was like, yep. Yep, you got it.
Thanks, Santa.
Thanks, Santa. So many of us, unfortunately, that don't feel comfortable enough in asking when we are the caretakers of our career. So
That's right.
you have to be your own advocate all the time. If you're not going to advocate just for yourself, you can't expect anyone else to.
So I'll leave you with this just because we want to know where to find you. What is an upcoming project or something that has just been released or coming out that we can promote for you?
Well, really, I have two that really have hit home for me recently. The first one is called Everybody Loses by Danny Funt, and it focuses on sportsbook betting in America and how it's moved from casinos to online gambling and how it has invaded each element of sports, each major sport in this country, starting with the NBA, and how they're now grooming youngsters with having access online to betting. And then the support for the addiction in each of these states is below substandard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Every time it comes up for legislation to help mitigate, those who are sworn in to help protect their constituents are too concerned with the amount of money that is lining their pockets. The other book is called Stitching Freedom by Gary Tyler and Ellen Bravo. It follows Gary Tyler's story. He was a teenager in Louisiana. He was 16 years old, and he was falsely accused of the murder of a young white high school student. And this is right around the time where they had integrated the schools, and there were fights pretty much daily between white students and black students. Police officers once in the station beat him brutally. Mother had to hear his screams while he was in there. They lied. They forced others to lie on him who were on the bus and witnessed that he didn't do anything. He was sent to, which at the time was the worst prison in the country, was Angola prison in Louisiana. And at every turn, he was trying to fight for his freedom. And the same ones, the judge and the DA, everyone responsible for putting him in, they were still in power. So every time an appeal came up, denied, denied, denied. But it was because of his connection to, there were a couple of Black Panthers in that same prison at the time who took him under their wing and protected him because, mind you, he was a teenager. A law had passed saying that you cannot put a teen to death at that time any longer. And so then they commuted it to a life sentence. It looked very bleak for him, but he continued to fight. He continued to survive. And then he found a way to thrive in such inhumane conditions. He ended up spending 41 years as an innocent. He's out now, and it's called Stitching Freedom because he began stitching quilts while he was in prison. And it was a skill set that was passed down to him from his grandmother and mother.
Wow.
And this was a way to raise money. He started an acting program, which helped inmates express feelings that were repressed, which also helped connect them to the empathy of the crime they committed. Started a hospice program while he was in there to give these incarcerated folk dignity, because they were not going to get out, but to give them dignity on their way out. I just spoke to him earlier today, but he was able to tell a story, and it just made me think of all the other people who did not get that protection.
Thank you for using your voice to tell other people's stories. Thank you for being with us, Cary. It was absolutely awesome to talk to you.
It was wonderful meeting you.
All right, I'll see you soon, all right?